We're live, and it's another week of the Code Breakers, the Pandemic Code HOA. This week we're talking Dead. All about Dead, The Walking Dead. We have helping out in the studio myself and Ammon, and the two actual hosts of this show are Nick Cardot and Alexandra. So we're going to turn the show over to these guys because basically I'm just running cameras and stuff, and get this show going. So let's just start off, guys. Why you two picked this? What was it? And if I remember right, Nick, you were the first one to come up with the idea. So why did you pick this as the meme for this week?
Well, a few weeks ago, The Walking Dead kicked off their season premiere for this season's Walking Dead series. And when they did, it set records for being AMC's most watched television show in the history of AMC. No other television show has gained as many viewers for an episode as that episode did for the season premiere. And so I thought that was pretty interesting because zombies have been around for a very long time. It's nothing new. And so what are they doing that is making it so incredibly popular? So I thought that would be an excellent thing to dissect.
Yeah, okay, like let's just put a context around this. Let's think of the other shows that AMC has put out. Mad Men.
What's happened there?
I don't know. She just all of a sudden went silent, and
yeah, that's weird.
See her.
Yeah.
Like I white box her. I can't even white box her anymore. Welcome to Google Gremlins. This week we've got a brand new gremlin that I've never seen before. Ammon, have you seen this one?
No, this is new. This is the Walking Dead gremlin.
Breaking news here on Google+. Everybody, stay tuned. Ammon and I are going to figure out exactly what went wrong with this new gremlin and inform you. Until then, Alex is back.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was so weird. It was just like, you have been muted. Who did that to me? Jerks. Okay, so we have, back on topic, we have Mad Men, which was a huge hit. Breaking Bad, another huge hit. What else has that? They tried to
AMC do Hell on Wheels.
Yeah, I think they're the ones that do that too. So I mean, they've had a lot of success, especially recently, with a lot of their shows. So the fact that The Walking Dead got that, top viewership for a single episode is really insane when you consider the context of what they're competing with on AMC. So just adding some, that's what makes it so like, wow, okay, people really are interested in this, and it's really why. Zombies have been around for a really long time, and they kind of seem to subside a little bit, and they've made can we say that zombies made a comeback?
Definitely resurrected.
The zombie genre has been reanimated.
I really knew it was a thing when the film Shaun of the Dead came out with comedy zombies. First time since some of the old Trauma type films,
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, that's a good. I love Shaun of the Dead.
One thing I gotta say is I watched the Shaun of the Dead, and I also watched another zombie comedy called Fido, and that is the best zombie comedy ever. I think it is so much funnier and so much better than Shaun of the Dead, but nobody's ever even heard of it.
No, I've never heard of it. I'll have to add that one to my list. But see, I mean, we've had zombies around forever. So what is it about The Walking Dead? Why are we so intrigued? What is it? Is it I think it does partially have to do with the time that we are in right now. Part of virility, I think, as has been discussed, is the timing of what you're doing. And I think the timing of The Walking Dead was really, really great. I was just reading an article about we really started to increase our interest in zombies, unfortunately, after 9/11. That particular article pointed out that a lot of interest in zombies and a lot of new zombie films and shows started to really show up after 9/11. And if we think of, I'm going to call it a depression. I know some people still don't recognize it as a depression, but if we think about the depression and the things that we were going through, maybe this obsession with zombies and the, you know, the end of the world, maybe that has something to do with it, is the timing of it all.
Well, one thing that's common to every post-apocalyptic genre type, whether it's zombies or some other form, is the concept of struggle under extreme circumstances and people working to survive, struggling to survive. And maybe with the depression and with people struggling through the economy and through their work lives and with families, and there's a lot of struggles in life, and so sometimes it's an escape to try to picture what would things be like under extreme struggle and survival scenarios. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I think it's pretty common. Most of us, in some way, when we watch a TV show, we kind of relate ourselves into it a little bit. For example, when I watch an action show, I have a mild case of, I think they call it hyperhidrosis. And what happens is if I get excited, my feet and my hands will sweat. And so when I watch an action show, my hands will begin to sweat just a little bit. My palms will get clammy. And that's just me responding to, you know, what's taking place in the show. And so I think we do that with all TV shows, though. Not necessarily sweat, but we react, you know, our heart will beat a little faster for something that's really exciting, that has us on the edge of the seat and things like that. And that's what the zombie does, is we're placing our minds into the show, and we're imagining. And if you've ever watched a zombie film, you're probably guilty of this next thing. You've stepped out to take the dog for a walk, and while your mind is wandering, you're picturing yourself how you would fortify your house in case of an actual zombie attack. Where would you set up, you know, to make sure you'd be the safest possible way to survive, you know? Because we literally we place our mind into the scenario, and I think the connection is the struggle there. How would we react to that struggle?
Right. Well, and I think that brings up a second concept that has, of course, been discussed previously on others of these shows, and that's relatability. The Walking Dead, one of the things that it has been really successful in is its character development and the relatability of the characters. And in putting those characters in the positions that they get put into, we find a way to not only relate, but we ask ourselves those questions, right? What would I have done if this was last season? I don't want to do any spoilers for anybody, but we are talking The Walking Dead. Last season, when Carol had to make that decision, when Carol had to decide what to do with that little girl, I was making the decision with her. I was thinking, what would I do? What would I do in that situation? And that relatability really maintains your audience, and I think it does maintain the virility of your content.
Also, along with the related... Oh, Ammon, were you trying to say something?
I was just saying that's kind of the soap opera aspect, which, you know, is always quite addictive. But did True Blood come out first? Isn't the zombie thing actually part of a whole wave of undead? Because I know one of the things that has been said is that the baby boomers have reached that age where they are facing mortality, and this is suddenly why this macabre interest in life after death, in all kinds of forms.
Oh, I don't know. I was going to jump on to what Alex had said about the relatability, and one thing that I noticed about the character development that you were talking about, as a soldier, when I watch like a military movie, if I see someone do something stupid, you know, right before they get shot or something, I'll be like, no, you don't do that. You're about to get shot, you retard. We would never use that tactic. Use the correct tactic and you'll be fine. You know? Well, in The Walking Dead or in any type of show, you sometimes see things that are just unbelievable. Why would they do that? Why did they walk down the dark hall to investigate that noise, you know? In the scary movie, you know? And one thing that they've got, okay, Grizz is right too about the character development. Season 2 is because you have to have a balance between character development and between the actual plot moving forward. Season 2 was a lot of spinning the wheels and not going anywhere. But what I was going to say is, along with the character development, look at some of the stuff that they had going on, because we all have different things in our struggles in life, but we still find positive. So, for example, you've got Glenn and Maggie. They're exploring love and marriage even despite the struggles and the apocalypse around them. And you've got Rick and Judith and Carl, and they're trying to help the children and doing different things like that. At one point, Rick actually tried to just create a garden and tried to have like a nice solace where he could just think and relax and try to recover from the trauma around him and different things like that. And then you've got stuff that's just pure action, like McCone and Daryl, or Michonne. I don't remember if that was soft or hard. But you know what I mean? So you've got these different aspects that are relatable, because in our struggle, again, through the economy or through whatever, we still end up searching for someone to love and to marry. We still end up searching for trying to care for our children and the people around us and different things like that.
Right, right. I mean, a lot of the show rests on this idea of humanity. What separates human beings from not being human? A lot of it has to do with that, and I think, Ammon, that can be related to your discussion about mortality, because we're so... I had a comment thread with David Amerland a while ago on one of his Sunday reads, because he was talking about the distinction between humanity and technology, and that is at the forefront of our minds right now. As technology continues to develop, we are really, no matter how much our technology develops, we always go back to this question, okay, what separates us from it? It used to be that our technology couldn't move. We're mobile, they aren't. But then it started to move. So we were like, okay, well, we can create, and it can't. Well, you know, now it's starting to create. So we're like, okay, well, we can control it. Well, you know, they're starting to think for themselves. So we're always looking for this distinction between what makes us human with anything. And I think that when we look at mortality, that was something that I brought up. I was like, maybe my mortality is what makes me human. Maybe I don't want to be immortal. The difference between me and technology is that I'm mortal. I will die one day, and it won't. So maybe that, I think that it all kind of plays into that idea of, as we watch The Walking Dead, as we deal with this idea of the afterlife, what separates us? This is, I feel like this is getting way more psychological than we do. You know, we don't sit there and think about it really, but I think that does have something to do with how popular the show is.
Yeah, and I've never gotten into the humanity versus technology stuff, so if I'm out of context a little bit, I was reading through a social psychology book last week, and it was talking a lot about the self, who we are as people, and how much of that is shaped by the people around us. We have our self-presentation, that we want to present ourselves a certain way so that people will like us and be our friends. And we have our self-image, and we have the way that we view other people's self, the opinions we have about them. So basically the idea is we're very aware of the people around us. We care about them. We hope that they care about us. We, you know, just... In fact, one time in the book they said that most people think about other people as a topic, thinking about, I'll be thinking about Ammon, or I'll be thinking about Dennis, or I'll be thinking about Alex, more than they think about all other subjects combined, thinking about reading a book or thinking about doing some other thing. And so I think that's part of our humanity as well. And so you see that because you both see that being exemplified, where they're caring for each other, they're working on plans, they're trying to keep each other safe, and then on the other hand, you see people breaking down under the pressure, like a man who his daughter gets bitten and turned into a zombie, and he's under such a psychological stress that he hopes that there can be a cure for her someday, and instead of helping others, he decides that the only way to ever survive is to take total control of the complete situation, and he basically becomes a sociopath and a psychopath. And, like, you know who I'm talking about there?
Yeah, the governor.
Yeah, the governor, exactly. and in my mind, the way he acted, it makes sense in my mind. I mean, his daughter had been bitten, his wife had been killed. I mean, he snapped under that type of psychological pressure. So even his actions, I didn't find unbelievable, you know?
Right. I saw, Ammon and Dennis, I saw you guys bring up comments, but apparently I'm getting old. I couldn't read them.
What's Ammon got there?
Griswold says, one of the most common themes on the show is the line of humanity, particularly the morality versus survival issues. How far will you bend your humanity to survive?
Yep. And how far along are we allowed to give spoilers?
Spoilers?
Yeah.
Do we have? Is there a code-breaking rule about not giving spoilers? I haven't heard that one.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen this week's episode, but last week's
No.
episode, and it was a couple episodes where they were sharing the same plot. They encountered a group of people who decided that their only way to survive is that when they found other humans that come by, they're just going to go ahead and trap them and resort to cannibalism. And so that's exactly what the question there is: how far will you bend your morality in order to keep yourself or your family or your people alive? Because that's what Rick always says. He says, "These are my people," and then of course you saw how Rick responded to it in kind, you know. And was he wrong in doing so? Was he immoral for stopping that guy the way that he did? I don't really think so.
Right. Well, and I don't even, is it, you know, are we losing our morality in the process, or is it changing? I mean, when you hear the, I'm just going to call them the cannibals, when they talk to them, it's no longer a moral issue. Their morals have changed to different things. They care about other things more than the moral issue of whether or not to eat human beings. So, I mean, could you say that they still have morals? Do they still have values? Yes.
I took that differently. I saw that as the way that some people, when bad things happen to them, they struggle to be more good because they've seen that darkness and they want to walk away from it. Others let it pervert them and respond in kind, become as bad as the thing that they hate, which is, of course, you know, a classic old thing that you become what you hate. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is it's similar to the response of, say, child abuse. You know, basically people come out of that experience with one of the two things that you've named, and as a percentage, there are more that come out actually becoming the thing that they hated. But not all do that, and it is a choice that is largely made on a subconscious level. Of course, Nick would be the one that could mostly talk to the psychology of this, but I think that's what you're saying. Am I right, Ammon?
Yeah, pretty much, and that's the age-old storyline and issue that's in our hearts that they're getting at is how do we react to bad things? Do we, you know, resort to, somebody hits us, do we hit them back or do we rise above it? Is it a turn the other cheek or is it give as good as you get? The cannibals have decided to give as good as they get, that it's a bad world and they're going to be the baddest people in it. Which is almost where the governor went.
Exactly. And there's a theory in social psychology about the duplex mind, basically the conscious mind, what we think about when we, you know, rationalize something, or we consciously try to factor in all the things to make a decision, whether it be moral or what shoes to wear, things like that. And then there's the automatic, like when you walk, for example, you're not consciously thinking about exactly what angle to bend your knee and what angle to bend your foot and all this other stuff, you know. And what they realize is that a lot more of our behavior is controlled through this automatic side of our mind, things that we just begin reacting to. In fact, when the fight or flight response kicks in, it's actually an automatic response at first, and then after so many seconds of it, that's when I believe the fight or flight is triggered by your amygdala, and when it triggers, I mean, you jerk or you do something to respond instantly, and it's automatic. You know, you don't even consciously think about it. If you burn yourself and you jerk your hand back, you don't consciously think about that. And then afterwards, you begin to consciously think about it and try to make a better plan on it. And what you're looking at is the same thing. They're faced with these different things. You know, they're getting burned, so to speak, by what's going on around them, and they're reacting to it. And some people will put more conscious thought into it and fight to try to maintain their humanity, and other people won't put as much thought into it, and they're going to do just whatever they got to do to survive, and they're just going to be fully reactionary. And those are just completely, they're just varying ways of reacting to that type of scenario.
So when we're talking about viral content, is it? I mean, is that part of the puzzle? Is it shining this light on you know, the decisions that we consciously make versus those that we don't, or would viral content be more viral if it fit into that automatic response category? Is it
Actually, yes. Robert Cialdini wrote a book called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. Awesome book. I recommend it to everyone who wants to learn more about this. The book has 7 chapters. The first chapter is the introduction, where he introduces the 6, he calls them weapons of influence. And he basically uses the example of like a mother, what was the animal? I think it was a turkey, a mother turkey. Their arch enemy is a polecat, and their person they would most love or care about would be their own children. But their children, they rely on this this chirp chirp sound that the baby turkeys would make. And if it makes the little chirp chirp sound, you know, the mother keeps pulling them in under their wing and making sure they got food and make sure they're getting cared for. If they don't make the chirp chirp sound, they will either stop caring for their own child, or in some cases they actually kill their own child. It's a very automated response that's programmed into their DNA. Then you got the polecat. If a polecat comes nearby, the mother turkey will attack that polecat without even thinking about it. If you take a toy polecat and you put it anywhere near a mother turkey, it will attack that toy like a plush Beanie Baby polecat, and it will attack it. You put a recording device inside of that plush polecat that's identical to the one it just attacked, and that recording device plays the chirp chirp sound recorded from its young, and it will brush it up under its wing and try to care for that toy polecat. So it's very, very automated. And so Robert Cialdini, the final 6 chapters are 6 weapons of influence, different areas that can be used to persuade and influence people in ways that are just, yeah, I'll put a link in there, yeah, in ways that can persuade people in ways that just make their mind go click, burr, whiz, you know. And that's what marketers try to do. They try to appeal to things that make these things activate your brain without you even realizing that it's activated your brain and grabbed your attention.
Right. What does that say? I know it says it's from Craig.
Yeah, anything you consciously decide to do was actually decided hundreds of milliseconds before you became conscious of the decision.
Yeah, and actually I read a really interesting thing about that the other day. We actually live like, I don't know how many milliseconds, it was really small, like 50 milliseconds or 100 maybe. We live like 50 to 100 milliseconds in the past. Like everything we're seeing happened 50 to 100 milliseconds ago, because that's how long it takes for our eyes to capture it, for it to transmit to our brain, for our brain to interpret it into a meaningful meaning. It takes a few milliseconds. And so they invented this device that you can point at someone, and all it will do is echo what they're saying and basically just play it right back to them, but just a few milliseconds outside the range that our mind is used to hearing our own voice. So like when you hear your own voice when you're speaking, you're actually hearing it on a very slight delay that your brain is used to. Play this and make it sound like it's coming back just a few milliseconds outside that range that we're used to, and it will literally make a person stop talking because it confuses them so much.
Oh, I've had that happen when I'm running an HOA. There are different times when I'm running an HOA that, you know, I get feedback because of something that's gone wrong somewhere in the system, or I've plugged in my headphones to the wrong place. Oh, it drives you nuts. You literally cannot talk.
The one that's always fascinated me is deja vu, where you've got that little extra delay, and therefore you're kind of conscious of having experienced this before when you haven't. And it's because part of your brain has processed it, and then the rest has consciously processed it, and suddenly it's familiar.
Yeah, deja vu is weird. I hate it when deja vu happens. I'm like, this isn't real. This isn't real. Let it go. Let it go.
Oh, I love deja vu. That's funny. Yeah, deja vu is a trip to me. Okay, so Grizz has asked 2 back-to-back questions that I think need to be brought up here. First one he asked is, how much of the show's popularity was well-handled marketing support, i.e. having the talking head on afterward, embracing the audience via social media. And the next one, he adds to that, can the spread of the popularity of The Walking Dead be mapped to the zombie virus in the show? I.e., were you bit by a fellow walker, or did you get infected via television promo? So I think the second one helps to answer the first one, but only partially. That's why I wanted to share both of them.
It does. I was waiting, thanks, Grizz. I was waiting for someone to bring that up because we do need to acknowledge that it was a television show. We're not talking about something that went viral on social media. It was something that was in your typical mass media, so it did have a much, it had a much better chance than your average piece of viral content because it does have the marketing dollars behind it. It has the AMC logo behind it. The Talking Dead afterwards, though, is an interesting thing to bring up because John Ellis, my business partner, loves it. He thinks The Talking Dead is like the best thing ever created. I can't stand it. I find it annoying and frustrating that I'm like, oh, this is a total way for them to suck up more of my time and make more money. So I can't stand it. John Ellis loves it. He thinks that it's a great, he sees it as cathartic. He sees it as a way for them to take something that's so filled with drama and so it can be a really heavy show at times. And he sees The Talking Dead as a way for everyone in social media to express their feelings about the show and get that out and see. And it breaks down that, going back to acting, which I did a really long time ago, very poorly, is it the fourth wall? It's a way for them to break down that fourth wall to say, okay, let's bring it back to reality. This wasn't real. So I think that Grizz is right in noticing that I think that does help with the virility of the content because I think it helps to separate it from reality and make people see. And of course it has that whole engagement participation aspect that we love so much about social media.
I do, though, say some of that is very, very cold marketing. It's, classic social proof. This show must be good, everybody's talking about it. And the more they can get people talking about it, the more everyone wants to be a part of the latest trend, able to talk at that conversation at the water cooler the next day, and starts watching so they don't feel left out. I know my partner, when she walks into work, The Walking Dead is the first thing that people are talking about that day, and I think there's a lot of people who find that in their workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss if I tried to speak to their social media or their Talking Dead, as I don't watch The Talking Dead, only The Walking Dead, and I've done for a few posts on Facebook once in a while. But I agree with you about the going into work and talking with your coworkers about it and things like that because, when I go into work, in the reserves for my weekend, there's several of us who sit around and chat about The Walking Dead, and yeah, that's just how it goes. A lot of word, mouth-to-mouth marketing, face-to-face, friend-to-friend.
And again, that's what broadcast television, that's the upper hand that they still have. As much as we all hang out in social media all the time, and some of us watch YouTube videos a lot, broadcast television is still, you go into the typical American home, it's the center of your living room. It's where people sit, a lot of people now sit and watch TV while they eat dinner. It is still a very prominent place where people get their information, they get their entertainment. So we do need to recognize that that is a huge piece of why it has been able to go viral. But it's still competing with a lot of stuff that's going on. A Sunday night, maybe not so much, but you're still competing with a lot of other television shows that.
Yeah, but let's talk about that. Sunday night, when the Olympics were airing, The Walking Dead had more viewers than the Olympics for its time slot.
Oh, did it really?
So you're right, even on that account, even if you do factor in their time slot.
That's funny. Priorities.
I think that ability to have those conversations, though, is one of the things that is classic in television. There are certain shows that people want to talk about and they want to share with each other, and having The Talking Dead to amplify that and widen that conversation, especially in an age where more and more of us are working from home and not having those water cooler conversations. Social media is our water cooler, and yeah, they've tapped into that very well. But how much of the show is actually about dealing with some of the things that we can't talk about as easily? I mean, for me, I think if you were to sum up one thing that The Walking Dead is about, it's about hope and hopelessness. It's about power and powerlessness, which is, absolutely something we all struggle with today. People are feeling less and less powerful, even in politics. Oh, we can vote for whoever we like, but it doesn't really make a difference. Even the person that we vote in may not be able to make anything change, and I think there is that powerlessness which is at the heart of the show. And the thing that gave that away for me was when they moved into the prison and worked out they were all already infected. Didn't matter if they got bitten or not. You die, you're already one of them. You're already infected.
And the fact that became so serious that who was it? I think it was Carol who began basically preemptively burning people if they got sick. Again, the morals and all the stuff, the way you respond to that type of stuff. Yeah, I agree. Hope and hopelessness and that struggle.
Right. It's a good thing to bring up though, Ammon, because a lot of like the Talking Dead, they get a lot of their responses that they bring up from Twitter, which, okay, Gary Vaynerchuk would say is the most social platform, but others of us would say it's really hard to talk about something as deep as hope and hopelessness in 142 characters, right?
140.
Like, I think that's a good thing to bring up because The Walking Dead it stirs up these feelings in us, and it stirs up these really, really deep concepts and thoughts. And when we look at The Talking Dead, it's like, are we really given the space to explore those? Or, again, does The Talking Dead function much more like a marketing tool in that it brings up those ideas and it brings up those concepts, but it never actually has those deep conversations? And it might be that we don't really want to. We like thinking about it, and we like seeing it, and we like saying that we thought about it, but do we really want to have that discussion? Do we really want to talk about what's going on today? Why are we feeling hopeless? What are we going to do about it? I think that's a really great...
Exactly that. It's a way of tapping into what people are feeling and therefore making the show very successful without getting into that messiness, and they don't want that. And I think that's a prime reason why they'd like to pick from Twitter, where it can't go into those depths, it can't get messy. So this is always in the context of fiction. We don't have to get too serious here, because that would turn away a large part of the audience who feel it but don't know why they feel it and don't really want to.
Right. And that goes back to that idea of catharsis. We got really deep into it and we felt those feelings, and then The Talking Dead, we can, it's an hour of, maybe that's why it bothers me so much, it's an hour of, okay, that happened, we're going to kind of talk about it a little bit and then move on. So, no, we're not going to move on. I don't want us to. All right, what did Kristen have to say?
Kristen says, I'm absolutely just fabulous. However, having never watched the show, half the time I call it by the wrong name, and I practically wear it as a badge of honour that I haven't stepped into that space. I'm such an outlier.
Such an outlier.
That's okay. I haven't touched the Game of Thrones, so that's my... Yeah.
To me,
Trust me, my students, they're just like, what? That and the fact that I haven't eaten at Chipotle, like, I'm epically uncool. That's how it works with my students.
Or alternatively, you're epically cool.
Yes.
Actually, what are you bringing up now?
What?
Common says, extreme situations, we still search for survival or hope. And there's an underlying feeling in The Walking Dead that it's kind of hope against the odds. No matter what we see, we still keep going.
Yeah.
So as we're getting close to running out of time, I have a very, very important question for Ammon. In your background, I see you have some sort of a DNA or RNA sequencing, and so I have to ask, is that the T virus or is that the rage virus?
I refuse to tell you what my secret evil lab is working on. No
The
point
protection
having
of
a
the
secret
world,
pollen base if I'm going to then tell you what it's in it.
Oh man. Okay, so I mean, yeah, we're almost at the 40 minute marker. Have we what have we learned today, guys? Relatability was one of the features, right? This I don't context, I guess, is the best way of saying it. It's gone viral because of this issue that we're having lately with, well, a lot of issues with mortality, with distinction of being human, which I think that's been going on for forever. I don't know if that's specifically in the context that we're in right now. What else? Marketing.
Hopelessness.
Hopelessness, right?
We all
Right.
struggle to survive and overcome our environment.
So if we can, like, if someone's got a piece of content that could tap into that, maybe.
I think what's really unique about The Walking Dead from the other memes and viral content we've talked about is that this one deals with something we can't necessarily talk about openly. Not in ordinary conversation. You know, this is something you could talk about with your deepest friends, but as a casual conversation, no. You couldn't address those kind of issues. But suddenly, through The Walking Dead, we can. It's kind of a code language for those really deep fears that we wouldn't want to talk about.
That's true. That's true. Maybe it's gonna be like our generation's metaphor for dealing with those issues. I don't know.
The only thing I wonder is it healthy? Isn't it actually good to be forced to have the deep conversations, and maybe having this outlet takes some of the steam away from the questions we should be asking ourselves?
It could, or it could be the first step in getting to the point of being able to really feel those feelings and talk about them.
Yeah, I saw that comment too. I think it's great. He says, "Don't worry about what it is, Nicholas Cardat. Just know that you're already infected." And Dave Pipe says, "I'd rather watch Game of Thrones than The Walking Dead." My response to that is, I'd rather watch both.
What?
Yeah.
He's just trying to get me to watch Game of Thrones so that I can argue with him.
Oh, there's like two shows that are at the top echelon of TV shows that I respect. It's Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead. They are the best two shows on the air, in my opinion.
Sherlock.
Wow.
I love Sherlock. Sherlock's a good one. And I was sad to see the Breaking Bad
Yeah,
stop.
but you're a Brit, though. You're probably going to say you like Doctor Who also.
You got to
But-
see the new Doctor. It's worth it.
But everyone has a favorite doctor. There's certain episodes that people are like, I don't like this season because I don't like this doctor.
Yeah. I think actually it is one thing, and it speaks well of The Walking Dead. I think we're in a bit of a golden age of TV at the moment. There are so many good shows ongoing. You know, we've got two on Sherlock Holmes. We've got Elementary and Sherlock, plus, of course, the films. So that's one meme all of its own in a way. We've got, you know, Game of Thrones, which is in any other time would be a standout success, but it's actually sharing the limelight with so many other things. We've got the superhero genres. We've got the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We've got Arrow. We've now got The Flash. There's so many good shows on at the moment, and still The Walking Dead is right up there.
Mm-hmm. And you left out Gotham, but yeah, I completely agree.
Okay, so I just got to throw this out there. I have Netflix, and so I've seen none of these shows
You
because
don't watch?
everything that I watch that's television, I'm watching a season or two behind.
Oh, that's okay though. I watched all of Doctor Who way behind I was like, what is this show? So I watched it all in like 3 weeks. It was great.
I did that for like the first 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah. I actually prefer it. I call it Netflixing, but I prefer it because when you Netflix a series and watch it all back to back to back to back, the sub-story shows up a lot better than it does watching every week.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing with Castle right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, another good show.
All right, so we're 1 minute over. Let's go closing thoughts. I'm going to go Alex, Ammon, Nicholas, and then I'm going to talk about next week's show.
Okay. Closing. Well, I did like a what we learned summation, so that's what we learned, I guess, through this cathartic episode. And I love The Walking Dead. I'm super excited for Sunday. Those are my closing. And I am seeing Laverne Cox talk tonight about getting past gender norms. Laverne Cox is from Orange is the New Black, and I am super excited about it.
All right, I'll say, make sure you guys stay safe, be ready for the apocalypse, keep your rifle handy, make sure you got some MREs and a good to-go bag.
And if you don't, find out where Nick lives.
Exactly, and get there fast.
Okay, for me, I love the fact that this show addresses things that we can't easily talk about. It addresses fears and sometimes brings those conversations out where they should be. Sometimes it may stop them happening, but I think mostly it's getting us to talk about these things, which is great. And other than that, brains.
All right, so every 6 weeks we're going to be doing something special on the Code Breakers, and we're going to have our closet, he's more than closet, mimetic expert, Craig, is going to be joining us every 6 weeks and doing what we're going to call the deep dive episode. So our first deep dive episode is next week. Craig will be coming on and giving a what? Yeah, for being behind. Nice. Yeah. Okay. I'm behind in everything. Yeah. So Craig Calvert will be on next week to take a deep dive. Some of it will be deeper reviews of past episodes, and a lot of it is going to be going into the various key elements of what it is that makes something go viral. So basically, we're just going to digest the shows and give you kind of the tools to be able to help your own content. That's the underlying reason we're doing all of this, besides that it's really fun. And so we'll see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, I don't turn off my cameras right away, so you guys get to watch part of the green room. So green room started, guys.
We're talking about undead squirrels. What is this?
No, he was talking, and then he brought up that comment, and then all of a sudden Dennis was just like, squirrel.
Lost train of thought, yeah.
Really, it's surprising that my ADD took over. This shocked anyone?